bicycle is something many of us take for granted today. Cycling is often a quick way of getting from A to B and enjoying some fresh air at the same time. It's all thanks to a German inventor named Karl von Drais. In 1817, he developed the Laufmaschine, or Velocipede, the precursor to the bicycle. The Technomuseum in Mannheim is currently showing an exhibit on the history of the bicycle. It was in Mannheim that Karl von Drais took his first ride. His invention bore the hallmarks of a modern bike, only the pedals were missing.
The machine produced by Baron von Drais had two wheels of the same size, handlebars and a brake, so much of what we know from a modern bike.
It was an ingenious idea, but sales didn't immediately go through the roof. The price tag of 40 guilders was more than many people earned in a year. It was to be another 50 years before a pedal-powered velocipede came to the scene, with two pedals driving the front wheel. In 1867, it was exhibited at the International Exposition in Paris. It went into mass production, but still had its drawbacks.
It was incredibly heavy because it had a wrought iron frame. But what was also new was the pedals meant you had to take your feet off the ground, so keeping your balance was suddenly much more of an issue.
Later models featured a much larger front wheel, up to 1.5 meters in diameter. That meant the bike could go much faster, but riders were also prone to more dangerous falls and crashes. Today, such models are only museum pieces.
It's good it's fixed on a stand. Looking around me, I don't think I'd want to be up this high if I was outside.
The early 1880s saw the introduction of the safety bicycle, with two wheels of the same size. Here, the rear wheel was powered by a chain, just as with modern bicycles. By around 1900, the bicycle was a mode of transport for all. What started out as a plaything for the nobility was now mobilizing the masses, and even women were getting in on the act.
The first women who began riding bikes in the 1890s were very bold. They had to adjust their clothing, as riding a bike with a floor-length skirt would have been difficult. It meant they enjoyed the same kind of freedoms as men. They were independent, able to go out on trips and escape the control of their family or husband.
Among the first bicycle lights was the carbide lamp. When mixed with water, calcium carbide produces a gas called acetylene. So if you want light, you mustn't run out of water while out and about in the dark.
One option would have been to spit into it, but that didn't give you sufficient liquid, so most people used urine instead.
Nearly 100 years ago, the first bikes were fitted with auxiliary motors. They were the precursors to the modern e-bikes. But despite all the technical progress, the bicycle's popularity declined in the 1950s in favor of cars and motorbikes. In an attempt to win back customers, the bicycle industry came up with folding bikes that could easily fit into cars. Wheelie bikes were another variation. Today, the bicycle is beloved again in many European countries.
If someone from 1895 were to suddenly wake up in our time, they wouldn't recognize many things, but they'd be familiar with the bicycle.
Mountain bikes, city bikes, bicycles with electric motors, they're all now an intrinsic part of life in many places around the world. Cycling is healthy, it's environmentally friendly, and has certainly stood the test of time.